finally get to talk to you and
Yeah.
congratulate you on Shapeless. What a incredible film this is, and it comes from your life.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Talk to me a little bit about that before we actually get into the film, because that's got to be one of the things that we fight against today. Is when you just are up against it, and I have only respect for you.
Thank you. That means so much. It's been definitely the hardest struggle of my life. And I had this idea for Shapeless 12 years ago when I was in treatment for bulimia. And at that time, I was really looking for something. I was an actor, professional actress, still am, but back then, and I love films, I love art, I love books. I'm admiring all those books behind you. And I was looking for something like what's out there that can help me process what I'm going through. And I just felt like I couldn't really find anything, at least in the filmmaking scope. Everything that I came across was very after school special. And then they all got better, or it was almost like a joke. Sometimes they would use eating disorders as butts of jokes. And I just felt like I needed this, like I need a movie that speaks to the authenticity of what this feels like, told in some surreal way. And that was the original seed of the idea. Took many, many, many more years to finally get something down on paper. And that took a long time, because I think those voices in your head, which is what Shapeless really is about, is how those can manifest, can be loud. You can believe that you can't do it and don't know what you're doing. And
being in this business as long as I have, I started in the days of silent television. That's how
wow.
long I've been doing this. I've gone through that too. And this is why this movie has touched me in such an interesting way, because there are times in my life where, you have a producer, somebody go, well, wait, you got to lose weight. You got to do this, you got to do that. And it doesn't register like, being hit in the face, but over a period of time, it becomes this voice in your head that you're not good enough. It translates into other things, and
Yes.
it can destroy lives.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing, because you're right. Whether it manifests in an eating disorder in your experience, I think shame and self-loathing, that feeling of not good enough, that feeling of I am not worthy because of X, Y, and Z is so universal. I think we all can let that inner critic run the show. And when the inner critic is running the show, it can manifest in these ways that are unhealthy, these unhealthy ways of coping with that deep, deep, deep rooted feeling of shame. And I think for me, what has really helped has been the vulnerability, the honesty, and the authenticity that I've really had to connect to in order to get this story here. Because it's scary. These are hard things to talk about. I think this is a really complicated, complex, deadly mental illness. I think there's a lot of other complicated things about life that are hard to talk about. And I think film, and in particular, like a genre of film and horror, can really be this avenue to somehow describe these things that will hopefully create a conversation like what we're having now.
And I like the blending of what you did. It goes back to something that Rod Serling said years ago, is you could talk about any subject as long as you put it in a science fiction, or fantasy kind of wrapping, because they'll get it if you present it to them. But sometimes you just can't tell them because it's just too much, or they don't want to hear it. And also the double-edged sword in this is simply, you work in a business that doesn't want to hear it. They say, well, hey, we don't body shame, but they do hire, everybody on TV seems to be 30 or 20,
Oh yeah.
and in perfect shape. So, there it is, that's such a, I don't know. It's just such a contradiction in.
Oh, it is. It very much is. And it's so image based, is what I think you're saying too. And that's something that's so sad. It's really sad because frankly, we're all different and
Yeah.
we're all going to look different and we're all going to act different. We're going to weigh different things and we're going to be different ages. And how boring if we all looked the same. Like yeah, I so agree. You know, I connect as a lover of film and art to authentic stories, to vulnerable stories, to stories that are diverse and from all over. And I think that when we do that and when we're able to watch those films and have these conversations, we realize that we can really find more connections and more things that are similar. And frankly, like, life is hard, you know, life is hard. And some of us are the meanest. We're probably all the meanest person to ourselves is what I think, you know, sometimes. And so if we can do anything to alleviate that pressure and feel a little bit of a breath, then let's try, you
Tell
know.
me, is it difficult to work with your husband?
We're actually exes now.
Oh no.
We went through a divorce last year, and honestly, I'm gonna use Shapeless as like the scope of like how to describe this. You know, we're on really good terms. We work together, we co-parent together, and that has come from a lot of uncomfortable, vulnerable, authentic, honest conversations, which is how Shapeless is here. And I really believe that if you can show up to someone and say, I'm really scared, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm afraid of these things, but I'm just going to say it, there can be some healing there, perhaps. And sometimes it was hard. Sometimes it was definitely hard to like balance the professional aspect with the personal aspect. But I'm so proud of us, and I'm really thankful for the place that we're in right now for our daughter.
I mean, he's a good actor. I mean, he
He's
really
really
is a
good.
good actor.
He's a really good actor. He's a really good producer. He's an incredible human. I cannot say one ill word about Bobby Gilchrist.
Hmm.
I love and respect him forever.
You've now elevated yourself to me as a hero. Now I'm
Oh, wow. Thank you.
growing up, when did you fall in love with the movies and storytelling like this?
That's such a good question. I think from as young as I could remember, I naturally performed. I went through when I was about like 3 until about age like 5 or 6, I always was wearing hats. I had like a tiara, and I had like, I grew up in Baton Rouge, which is LSU. I had like an LSU hat, and I had cat ears, bunny ears. I was always playing a role, or so my mom says. And I loved books. And like, I even found these old books that I had written and illustrated from when I was a kid. And I loved movies. I think I love fantasy. And I love kind of what you were talking about, that idea of like, we're talking about the things we might deal with in our reality told in a fantastical way and with a fantastic scape is really intriguing to me. And I think I've always been someone to really get lost in stories and find understanding, comfort, and connection there.
Do you reach back into time and look at films from the 1930s and 40s, those type of, broad romantic comedies, or do you kind of set your sights in more modern comedies and dramas?
I love all films. I think something that was so great about my experience in training as a professional actor before I went to treatment. So this would have been like 13 or so years ago. I moved to LA and found the most incredible acting class. My mentor, Chick Venera, he was an incredible actor. He recently passed away. It's actually the class where I met Bobby Gilchrist in that class. And something that was so incredible about this person is he really encouraged us to watch as many movies as possible. It wasn't this scenario of like, don't watch any movies and then come act. It was like, go watch, go see what the greats are doing. Go explore and really understand this film, like what you're doing, and in TV shows as well. And to have that respect and that understanding. And so I think that diversity of watching all those films and then bringing some of those characters like to the stage in my own way, whether it was from a film or TV, really allowed me to just appreciate the breadth of like what films do for people they're hard work. It's a lot of people that have to come together, work together, and create something. And it's so cool. And there's so many different ones. And I think that's what's cool about filmmaking, because this person's going to like this one and not like that one. But somehow we can find the things we want.
Yeah, to me, it's always been like an Amish barn raising to make a film. You've just got to, you supply the wood and everybody starts working, and, you get a barn after a while. How many
Somehow,
days?
and you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah. So how many days were you shooting?
18 days, 18 jam-packed, needed more time days.
Wow, that's an incredible schedule.
Thank you. It was incredible. It was a feat. We filmed in New Orleans. This film community here is very vibrant, very supportive, very
I have friends that are working in New Orleans.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, great place.
Yeah, it is a wonderful place.
It's home. It's home for me.
it.
I'm here right now, actually.
Oh, nice. I send me some beignets.
That's so funny. I've been talking about beignets, and just now all I want are beignets. I've been thinking and talking about them a lot today.
People in New Orleans invented the bananas Foster. So,
Oh God, I love bananas Foster.
I bet your catering was
Let's light the rum on fire. Let's see what happens.
Your catering was off the charts, probably with.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was really good. It was almost like 99% of the people that worked on this film were from here, lived here, work here. We had like our one out of town hire that I can think of right now was our monster maker, Megan, who actually created the creatures, and she came from LA. But we wanted it to feel like a real authentic New Orleans story, obviously told, in what we're doing with Shapeless, but it's set in New Orleans. We're from New Orleans. So that was something that was important to us.
Well, let's talk about the horror aspect too of the movie, because doing a horror film, everybody thinks it's easy, but it isn't, because there's pacing involved. It's got to be cut right, shot right. I think you touched on a great noir feel, for it, and the use of shadows, the use of light and dark, all of that was just pitch perfect. This film seems like you spent millions on it, and I know it wasn't done for millions, but this goes to your creativity. This goes to the crew, which you were probably spectacular crew, because again,
yes,
your sound, your music, your everything just kind of added up to, when the separate parts are more than, when the whole is more than the parts, you've got something.
Thank you so much. I am floored. I'm truly floored. And when in the early stages of writing this, I almost wouldn't write some things because I was also a producer. So I was like, the budget's always like circling in your head and you're like, don't write that, don't write that. And something that Samantha did for me, the director, she said, don't worry about all that right now. Let me work, we'll figure that out. Let me figure that out. And it really opened me up to just be like, I'm just going to write things. One in particular is the trash scene. I almost didn't even write that scene because I was like, how in the world are we going to make a sea of trash come to life? I don't know. And the way that was done was so I'm just floored by the incredible art department and everyone that came on board to create what happened. And I think everyone was collecting their trash for weeks. And what they did is they created a big ghillie suit, a monster suit of trash, that Bobby Gilchrist was the actual trash monster who came to life. And Natalie was the DP, was up here with the camera and was coming in and created that epic thing with just some practicality effects, practical effects.
Well, that goes to, the family feeling of doing a film like this, is that everybody is invested and everybody wants to get involved with not just their jobs, but with wearing many hats on a set.
Which is hard, it's hard to do that. It takes a lot of passion and heart. And I am so thankful and grateful for the crew and the cast that lent their hearts and talents to this project. And something that was so unique about this project is, it meant something to people, not just me. And it was really beautiful to be able to experience our grip on the first day walked up to me and said, I'm so thankful and proud to be working on this film. This affects a loved one very close to me. And that those kinds of conversations would just happen on set with people who either were dealing with it themselves or loved ones or close ones. And it sort of created this sense of safety and vulnerability where we said, we're doing something that's hard and that's uncomfortable, but it's important. It felt important. And it's really cool to be here right now that people can see it finally.
Kelly, will you be directing soon?
It is definitely on my wish list one day. I sit here and I'm doing the thing like I did before Shapeless. Like, I don't know how to write. I've never written anything. So I'm like, I don't know how to direct. I've never directed anything. I would love to one day. I would be honored to be able to direct something one day. And that's something I want to do one day for sure.
You edit as well?
I used to. I'm definitely obsolete. I mean, I can edit my demo reel and auditions and things like that. I used to, in college, I was a journalism major. So I was constantly creating like packages and editing and doing that thing. And then I just, technology moves fast. If you don't keep up with it, it's passed you by.
I love the fact as we're closing, because I could talk to you for, another hour.
Yeah, likewise.
But as we're closing, I love the way that you made New Orleans a character in the film.
Thank you. Me too. That was important. We wanted to create an authentic feel. I know a lot of us New Orleanians can watch these movies and TV shows that are set in New Orleans and we're like, that's not New Orleans, that's Disney World, or what. They made it seem like Disney World, and we just wanted it to feel like what really happens. There's so many incredible musicians here. So we wanted to kind of create this experience of New Orleans is here. And I think, you were saying you have people here that work here. Have you ever been here before?
Oh, we did. Now You See It. The two of them out there, and I've been out there with Crossroads years ago with Brittany, and went to her restaurant, which is the Colonel, I think it's called.
Oh, awesome! I wonder if it's still around.
I think she sold it to somebody.
Okay.
But
yeah, it's so it's got this. New Orleans has this quality of magic and haunt and deterioration and
I earned a lot of beads.
Yeah. It's got that feeling of like anything could happen. And so it's home for me. It's my favorite city.
Yeah. In fact, David Fincher is out there right now shooting a movie.
Yes, he is.
My friend Andy Jensen. I don't know if do you know Andy Jensen? She is working the scripts with him.
I'm not familiar. I've never met Andy.
You guys have Tom Hardy out there shooting. You've got, the Louisiana Film Commission is incredible.
Incredible. I primarily I work here a lot. I have a place here. Primarily I live in California and co-parent our daughter with Bobby Gilchrist, but I'm here a lot. And I work here more than I do anywhere else, which is, I love it because it's home. And then when I go on a set, it's that familial, like, oh, I worked with you on da 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 da. How are you? There's that sense of community here that I really appreciate.
It is just a lovely, lovely, and it has a small town feel to it.
Yes.
And you're very lucky that you have something like New Orleans as a backdrop to what you ever want to do, because you could find anything there, and people are just open. It's not like LA and shooting there where they know that you're going to pay $1 million to shoot in a house, and they'll hold you over the coals, so that's something nice.
I think there's a community, there's a deep sense of community here, which makes sense with like how hard it can be to live here, with hurricanes and all the things. And there's a sense of collaboration here that's really special. That's very inclusive.
Well, come out to Salt Lake here and visit me.
Oh, would happily do that in a heartbeat.
I'll cook for you.
So awesome.
I'm a pretty damn good chef.
I was going to ask, what do you like to cook?
Oh, I steaks, I smoke meat, fish, you name it. I'll make you oysters. I'll make you the Scottish scallops, whatever you want.
Awesome. Well, oysters, you're
you're
right there.
Yeah. In our final moments that we have together, thank you so much for. I think I just made a new BFF here, but in our final moments, what do you think audiences are going to take away from watching Shapeless?
Oh, I love this question. What I hope they take away is those that are struggling with an eating disorder, with mental illness, with whatever inner battles you're struggling with. I hope you feel seen, heard, and understood. Those who don't, I hope that this creates a picture to create empathy and understanding for someone you might know or love that is dealing with this, to recognize that this is more complicated and complex than it might seem on paper. That's what I hope.
I think you're right. I think there's a wonderful sensitivity about this film, a wisp of humor running through it. You've got all those great elements making this film so watchable and so poignant for today. Because as kids grow up, they're shown images and all of that, and it all plays into what we're teaching. And I'm glad you survived, and I'm glad you survived with a sense of humor. I'll talk with you later. You have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Yeah, thank you too. I appreciate your time and your questions.
I love the film. I really want to say that I love the film.
Thank you. That means so much.